technology seems to be advancing faster than ever before, and that made 2023 a big year for science. But since it's hard to keep up with all the progress, we brought in Dan Riskin. He joins us to give us his top science stories of the year. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you. Good
nice to have you here, not in the Nook, back at where you are at home. Good to have you here. First on your list is something that sounds really like it comes out of science fiction and a comic, like it was made up. It's an X-ray laser beam.
Yeah.
How did it move the needle in science this year?
It feels like something Dr. Evil would come up with,
yes.
An X-ray laser beam. But this thing was not something you can hold in your hand and shoot. This thing is literally kilometers long. It's this huge facility out in California where they're using incredibly powerful lasers to shoot a laser beam, and instead of being a red laser or a green laser, this is an X-ray laser. So it's at a frequency of tons of energy. And what that allows them to do is to shoot it very, very briefly, turn it on and off.
And Dan, that was the building that houses this. This is the thing.
That's it. I mean, it's the worst looking when you think laser, you think it's going to be a cool looking thing you can hold. No,
it looks like the subway.
It looks like a subway or a sewer or something like that. But I tell you, this is fancy dancy stuff. And basically, they've got this laser working now so that it can shoot X-rays and the time intervals that this allows you to look at. So it's like being able to take a freeze frame with X-ray of very small things. And that gives scientists this tool they can use to really take apart the universe at this very small level and understand how it works.
Very, very cool. Speaking of tools and power, harnessing the power of the stars, but doing it here on Earth. That's what scientists did in your next topic.
Yeah, nuclear fusion. We're getting closer to limitless clean energy. And like it's so utopian, it feels like you're just talking about a Star Trek episode.
Yeah.
But basically, the way we do nuclear power right now is we rip atoms apart, which is fine. That's fission.
Fission, yeah.
That's fine, but once you split some atoms apart, other atoms get split, and you get this chain reaction you can't stop. And that's why we've got like nuclear fuels, and we can't stop, and there's a chain reaction, and people worry about nuclear meltdowns. Nuclear fusion is the opposite. You take some atoms, you smush them together. That's what happens on the sun. Hydrogen makes helium. Here on Earth, it's smushing things together, and we can do it, but it takes a lot of energy to get them stuck together, and then some energy comes out, but you've spent a ton of energy pushing them together. We made progress this year towards getting more energy out than we put in to smush them together. And once we sort of figure that out, we'll be able to take a tablespoon of seawater, and it'd be like having hundreds of gallons of gasoline. It would be total, like so much energy, and it wouldn't give off any greenhouse gases. And if you use nuclear fusion, there's no chain reaction. So if you stop, it's just stopped.
Okay, well, something that is here and now is the Sphere in Vegas. And I don't know if you've been yet or not, but I know people who have been, and they are blown away by it. But why is it on the science list?
It's science and technology, and like science is partly about how we have fun and about different technologies. Ultimately, movies are a technology, right?
Yeah.
Recording of sound is a technology, and so this big Sphere in Las Vegas really is sort of where we're at right now in terms of what can be provided. So all these LEDs on the inside of it and on the outside, so it looks cool from the outside. Just making for a really immersive experience that is unlike anything else that's out there right now. U2 has headlined a show there already. More music acts promised there, other kinds of entertainment. But the other thing that makes it interesting, if you're a nerd, or even if you're not, is that although the lights are kind of easy to get your head around, the sound inside a Sphere is very hard is tricky to figure out. But they're doing concerts in there, so they have to figure out how to make it sound just as good at a seat back here as it does as a seat over here. And that's very hard to do in a Sphere, and they've nailed all the math on that.
So our executive producer, Jen McLean, went to it, and she saw the U2 concert. They're going back again in the new year, but she said it was like hearing it right in your own seat.
Wow.
Just incredible.
Wow. Well, maybe you guys can send me. I think you guys should send me as
Dan
your
Riskin, I'm sending myself before I send you. 2023, also a big year for space breakthroughs. And in fact, there were so many you didn't pick just one. You have a few of them. What were the stories that made your list?
The big one for 2023 is we found out Jeremy Hansen is going around the moon. So Canadian astronaut, he'll be the first person who is not an American to go to the moon. And he's going to go on a trip around the moon. On that trip, he will go farther from the Earth than any human has ever gone before. He'll be with 3 American astronauts. Very excited about that. The trip itself is still in the future, but that announcement came this year, and it's worth mentioning. The other space story that I'm just obsessed with is OSIRIS-REx.
Yes.
We brought back a sample from an asteroid, and what we've just learned is that it almost didn't survive the trip back. That capsule came back going so fast from space, and it needed a couple of parachutes to open in order to make the landing safe.
Yeah.
The first parachute at 30 kilometers up never opened.
Oh, no.
And it came screaming through the atmosphere, and it wasn't until 3 kilometers above the ground that the second chute opened, and it was supposed to be already slowed down by that point, but that second chute was able to slow it down nonetheless, and it did survive the landing. But NASA's scratching their heads to figure out why that first chute never went off, and trying to make sure they fix that problem before, Jeremy Hansen comes back from the moon, for example.
And it's not opened yet, but when it does open, we get a small percentage of it to having to study here in Canada.
Yeah, Canada has a cut. We get some of the asteroid sample that's been collected, but they still haven't figured out how to open the containers, so they're still working on that.
So they get the stuff here, they just can't open the box. Got it. Your number one science story of the year, and that is artificial intelligence.
It has to be. It's been so exciting this year to see AI rising up. I mean, technically it was the end of 2022 that ChatGPT got released, but 2023 is when all of us had a chance to play with it and just be blown away, saying, can you do a Shakespearean sonnet about Seinfeld? And it does. And you're like, what? How smart are you? Can you write my college essay for me? And it does. And then we realize all the implications. But that is just the part that we see and play with. AI is taking over in so many different scientific fields. It's in all the different disciplines, finding new proteins, solving problems about people who are paralyzed and finding ways for the brain to connect with the spinal cord again.
Wow.
AI is doing amazing things and really paints a picture for a really wonderful future, whether it's 2024 or even the next 5 years. Everything's going to change. People are saying this is a bigger innovation than the internet.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's why it is number one. Good to have you here. Happy holidays, Dan.
Happy holidays. Thanks.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.